Let's go. Welcome everyone to the second anniversary stream edition of ThursdAI, March 13th, 2025. Welcome. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases. Soon, Corweave. Cohere is going to be here. Soon, Corweave. Welcome to co-host as well. Welcome, Wolfram. How are you, man? How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. Congratulations to the second anniversary.
Yeah, let's go. Wait, I have a thing. No. Where's the Yeah. I'm traveling right now in the hotel room, but still I'm able to do at least this. And we also have Nistan for the first time earlier than the show started, which is incredible. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Where are you?
Earliest I've been in 2 years.
Yeah.
The show.
What a crazy 2 years it has been. So folks who don't know and folks who maybe join us a little bit later, which like we welcome everyone. ThursdAI started as only a Twitter space back in March 14th of 2023. So 2 years ago. And the reason we started is because me and Travis back then, we liked the GPT-4 release. And we said, hey, we want to talk about it. And we jumped into a space of somebody else's. I don't remember who it was. And that person decided to end the space. And we're like, we liked the conversation. We didn't end talking yet. We have more to say. And so we just jumped in our own space. And we basically, after that space, which was great, and many people came in, we felt that people want this. And people need some folks talking about their experiences as well. And so we just did another one next week, and kind of never stopped. And at some point, and this is maybe some of you already know, at some point folks were telling me like, hey, back then we tried to do them one in the morning, one in the afternoon, so that like European folks will catch one, and then US-based folks after work on Thursday will catch one. And at some point, many folks started telling me like, hey, I cannot be on the live session, and listening on the X interface after you record is not that fun. And so can you just like record this and put us in the podcast? And I didn't want to. I had a startup to run and to build, and I was like, oh, this is too much work. But then at some point I was convinced, and the rest is kind of history. So welcome everyone to ThursdAI, which is your AI show about the latest week in AI news. I'm your host, Alex Volkov. Again, I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases. With me, I have two dear co-hosts and friends, one of whom I met face-to-face. Wolfram, we need to get together. We have Wolfram Ravenwolf and Nistan Tahirai, both great co-hosts. We also have a special guest today with us. Let me add her. Sandra. Hey, Sandra.
Oh, hi, guys. Hello.
Hi there.
Welcome.
So we have Sandra, who's working at DevRel at Cohere, who also have an announcement today. And as you guys know, I love the folks who making the releases also come to the show and make an announcement. So Sandra, more than welcome to join us from the beginning. We're going to do a quick TLDR of everything that we have to talk about, and then we'll jump in. And I know you don't have that much time, but we'll cover the release that you guys just announced, which is super exciting. To remind folks who are just joining us, first of all, folks who are on the Twitter space who are just joining us, feel free to go to the bottom right and leave a comment and participate in the conversation. We always love folks telling us like, hey, breaking news, this was just released, that was just released. This is like a big part of the show. We can't cover everything. We try to. We can cover everything. We have great community members as well, so not only co-hosts. I see Lincoln. I will always shout out Lincoln. If you're on the Twitter space, you see the little like Groot in the gradient between like purple and blue. Even folks who are listening in, they should know who Lincoln is. He goes by President Lin. When I'm traveling and I don't have the time to like follow everything, Lincoln has incredible threads that he follows most of the news that we cover. So thank you, Lincoln, for helping me prepare for the show for every week since we met, basically, and an honorable member of the community. But also
I'm
everybody else.
He's an AI agent from the future, delivering news to us.
I haven't seen Lincoln face to face, so I don't know if that's a person or an AI agent, but supposedly that's a community member either way. And also, I want to remind folks that we are, if you're missing any part of the recording, we are on every podcast platforms, so Apple and Spotify and YouTube. There's also a YouTube channel that's been popping off, folks. I got invited to the YouTube Partner Program, which is like, all right, let's go. So that's new. And we're everywhere where you get your podcasts. So if you miss any part of the show, you're more than welcome to go. If you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It's a really great way to help support the show. That's how people discover us, and that's great. And also, we're on YouTube Live right now. So if you're listening only on Twitter Space, I will go ahead and kind of pin the link on to the video version, so you can also see us celebrating, as we always will love celebrating. Let me just add this to Twitter Space as well. So if you miss any part of the show, or you want to see what we're showing, sometimes we're showing some stuff, sometimes there's visual things, you're more than welcome to join. All right, logistics out of the way, folks. Let's do a TLDR super quick. And thank you for folks for wishing us a happy 2-year anniversary. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for being here. If you want to post this and boost the signal to your friends, feel free throughout the show also to keep boosting. It always helps the algorithm as well. Let's do a TLDR. We'll start with TLDR, and we'll start with open source, and then we'll get to hear the announcement from Sandra. But for now, we'll start with open source. Here, right. So hopefully some folks can see yeah, that's great. We got a big release from Google. Gemma 3 was released. Gemma is Google's open source, and they released a series of models between 1 billion parameter and 27 billion parameter. And this one is multimodal, understands video, folks. This is so dope. I'm really excited about this. We definitely want to cover this. Wolfram, I saw you already did some analysis on this, so would love to hear from you. We invited Omar Sansivero, who used to be in Hugging Face and now is in Google. Omar, you're invited, and Omar, you should show up because you're a friend, and we're talking about your stuff. But Omar may not be able to be here, but it's all right. We'll cover this without Omar. We also have in open source.
They took him away from us.
They took him away from us. Yeah, but now he's Google. He should be able to shop. We also have a new multilingual encoder called Eurobird. I found it really interesting. Wolfram would love to cover this with you as well as our European representative, let's say. Folks from Reka, do you guys remember Reka from ETA and like other folks who's not already there? But Reka still goes strong, and they released open source. Reka Flash 3 with reasoning was released. It's 21 billion parameters. Is open source right now, and you can download and play with this. And we'll have Sandra here talking to us about Cohere's new Command A, which we'll discuss and hear all about, and kind of hear an update in a second. So Command A from Cohere. Congrats on the release, Sandra, and folks at Cohere. This is awesome. In the big companies and the API news, one of the coolest things that I've seen, maybe not the biggest, but definitely the coolest, Gemini Flash Experimental finally released the native image generation mode, and you can talk to images with Gemini Flash. Folks, this is so goddamn cool. Sorry for my French. This is really good. You can play with images, and you can basically say, hey, I want this or that with the image, and it just does this. So incredibly awesome, and we're gonna actually show this live on stage. This is gonna be awesome. Then we have OpenAI's new SDKs. OpenAI just like decided to not announce anything, just like, hey, we're gonna go to a live stream. Live stream had Elon Biggio and some other folks, so shout out to Elon, our friend, and basically released a new SDK for developers. They also released a bunch of new agent tools, including web search. They also released a Weave competitor, which I don't love, but it's all right. And all kinds of like a bunch of stuff there with the OpenAI new SDK. As always, they're trying to basically adjust to the world, and now 2025 is the year of agents, so we need to cover what they released at length. We also have a new release tease from the folks at News Research. Deep Hermes is coming, and also News released something called Portal, which is their basically inference thing. So you can sign up to News Research Portal and get their models streaming to you. In this week's Buzz, the category where I talk about everything that happens in weights and biases, I will just say that we are now, the whole company is in an offsite where you can probably see me at as well, in Oceanside, California, so near San Diego. We've had an incredible offsite so far. as always, the show must go on, folks. So the show is not canceled. I'm here in the hotel room talking to you, but then I'll go and rejoin the offsite. And it's been incredible to meet the whole company. Also, because of the news that I announced last week, for those of you who missed, Weights and Biases was acquired by CoreWeave. We all obviously the offsite and folks are here talking about that acquisition. Also, in the CoreWeave news, I am able to talk about what's been said publicly. So there's an announcement from OpenAI and CoreWeave as well that I'll cover just briefly. I'll just mention that you'll have to go and do the research yourself, but I'm allowed to mention what's been publicly stated in the news, in the PR Newswire. So we'll talk about this. We also had, while we're here, we had an MCP hackathon. Do you guys remember last week? It was last week, only last week. We had a MCP explosion moment, and we had two folks on here talking about MCP, Dina from Cloudflare and Steven. I believe Steven, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am, I apologize. A lot of names this week. And we talked about MCP, and I was completely MCP pilled. We had a hackathon here because we kind of wanted to see what to do together. And I was like, folks, if we're going to miss the MCP train, we're going to be left behind. So we had a hackathon about MCP, and I will do an announcement also. An MCP server for Weights and Biases is coming. So if you are using Weights and Biases, the models product, you'd be able to just talk to your data. And so that's coming very, very soon. We actually hacked together on the hackathon. And so shout out to folks. In vision and video, there's a new LoRa effects for 1x. You guys remember 1x from Alibaba? Some folks released like 8 LoRa effects with like squished video effects. It's super cool. I'll show it to you later. I don't think there's anything voice and audio, but Wolfram, if you have anything interesting there, let's talk. But in AI art and diffusion, ByteDance released a bilingual image generation foundation model. It's a lot of words. A native Chinese English bilingual image generation foundation model from ByteDream. It's called C-Dream 2, and it looks very, very good with the images and etc. Also, and I wanted to bring somebody to actually work with this. This new AI agent called Manus, I don't know how to pronounce this, probably Manus, started popping off everywhere. I don't know if it's hype, if it's marketing, but Manus is definitely taking over the airwaves, so we should definitely at least talk about this. I've got access to Manus finally. Thank you for Ray Fernando, a friend of the pod, who doesn't have power where he's at, but if he did, he would join the stream also and talk about his experience with Manus. So we have access, and we're going to play around with this. And I think that's pretty much it, folks. I think that's most of the stuff that we're going to cover today, unless breaking news comes. And I'm sure on Thursday, on our 2-year anniversary, our favorite thing that's going to happen is breaking news, and those will come. So with this, we're going to start with open source, and we'll dive into the announcements from Cohere. Let's do it. Open source AI, let's get it started. Let's get it started. And for open source AI, I would love to introduce my friend Sandra. Sandra, welcome. Please introduce yourself. You've been on the show before, I believe, but maybe folks who just joined don't know who you are. So welcome, Sandra. Who are you and what are you doing at Cohere?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Alex. Yes, I believe I have been here before. It's been amazing to see the podcast evolve. Super happy to revisit. I am part of the team at Cohere. I'm part of the developer relations, and I am coming here bearing news. We've just released Command A. I think you can see it on my background.
Yep.
Very proud of this little fella. Well, not a little fella. It's actually a big model. It has 111B. We have added it as our latest and greatest, the best model yet in our Command family. We've doubled the context size to 256K, which is quite unique in this model category. I think the favorite part for me of this model is that it's very, very efficient. We've been both very frugal in terms of how we were training the model, but also to make it very efficient to deploy. We're primarily focusing on serving the model in private deployments. And for that, it requires only 2 GPUs. Typically, the models of this size require 32 GPUs. So it's a huge, huge difference. It makes it much cheaper, much easier to run for enterprises out there. We also have tested extensively the model performance for agentic tasks, for tool use, for multilingual performance, and it excels, especially compared to GPT-4o and DeepSeek V3, very popular models out there, kind of like a Swiss Army knife models. So here's another one of those for you guys. It comes with features that all command models have, including advanced RAG, verifiable citations. We are very big on robust security standards because we primarily work with enterprises. So we have very nuanced approach to security. Happy to dive a little bit deeper into it at a later time. It also integrates really nicely with our AI agent platform called North. North is actually going to come out in the general access, I believe, late spring. Currently, there are enterprises that are testing it, but essentially it's an agentic platform that is securely plugging into companies' CRM, internal wiki, and also external search, and it's able to
exciting.
do all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I would love to talk about North going forward, and especially when you guys release this. Sandra, thank you so much for coming, and congrats on the release of Command A. Let's run through kind of maybe for folks who are not familiar with Cohere, and there are some like this, maybe not a lot. Could you tell us kind of a little bit about Cohere, and then also kind of the models that we've covered Command R, obviously Command R Plus. Would love to hear from you just generally kind of what Cohere does, and also. I know for a fact that I know Sarah Hooker from at least Twitter, and I think Sarah was also maybe on the show, but I don't know, we met definitely. There's Cohere and there's Cohere for AI, and can you explain to us what the difference is also?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Cohere, and let's start with Cohere and Cohere for AI. Cohere for AI is a research arm of Cohere. We run it as an open science lab. There are scholars around the world that are working together on biggest, most complex research questions for the model, for the large language models. I think one of the things that I'm really proud of in terms of the research lab is their contribution to the multilinguality. We are famous for Aya series of models, which improved the global coverage of large language models around the world. They come in different sizes, in various sizes, and they are the most advanced multilingual models out there. This research is sprinkling down to also command models, which are our proprietary models that we serve commercially for customers. And Cohere is a research and development lab that came out of Canada. We're a very proud Canadian company, Canadian-born company. We have a strong family of models called Command. There is Command R, which is particularly good for retrieval augmented generation. It's in the middle size category. There is Command R+. We've also came up with refreshed versions of Command and R+ end of last year. We have models for embeddings and for re-ranking called Embed and Re-rank. All of these models work together in tandem to create an end-to-end experience especially for advanced RAG and tool use types of use cases. We work primarily with bigger enterprises. So we have deals with companies like Fujitsu or LG, and we are working extensively with these bigger agents to deploy our models and to customize them for them. And that's why we are focusing on private deployments predominantly, also on the global coverage in terms of the multilinguality. That's why the newest model is also very strong in that department. fun example would be we've tested it against Arabic dialects, and I think we've used like 4 different dialects in Arabic, so Turkish, Egyptian, whatnot, and then we've evaluated the model answers in that very dialect, and we see that it does very, very well even in this granular nuance scenario in different Arabic dialects. And that is that strong multilingual performance you can find across 23 languages. I think these are the most common languages, like, Chinese, English, German, Polish, my native language. The list is long. Yeah, we're very focused on creating models that are working well in the agentic scenarios. And are very strong with tools and with especially retrieving tools and using them. So I think that's
a
the
great
gist
coverage
of us.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
coverage. And I see already many folks in the comments celebrating the fact that it is Canadian, and fellow Canadians are very, very happy with like a frontier lab exists coming out of Canada, which Nistan, I'm sure you are as well. And I think you've met some folks, right, Nistan?
I haven't met Sandra, but I was at Cohere's hackathon exactly a year ago, which yeah, I showed the older command R was able to fit the 32B model on a free Google Colab and had to do like a custom 3-bit, 4-bit quant. I met the CTO and a whole bunch of other people whom I didn't know. There were a lot of people there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wolfram, I believe you have a follow-up as well.
Yeah, first thing, I'm excited about the release because Command R Plus, the original especially, was for a long time my favorite local model. So I will try A for sure. And I'm excited, especially because of the multilinguality that has always been very strong, like you said, in German as well. I just realized R Plus is the R for RAG and the A for agentic as a focus of the model.
Yes, that's the focus of the model. That's the mental shortcut you can make. R comes for RAG, A for agentic. We also joke that A goes for air gapped, because we're also very big on security and making sure that your data is not not coming back to us. So you can interpret it in various ways, but I would say that predominant narrative is the agentic, A for agentic.
I thought that R is like for commander, and now we have Commander.
Probably relevant as well. So is A the successor to R and replacing it, or do you still recommend R plus for RAG and A for agents, or is A new version that is better in all ways?
So it does outperform R on various tasks. However, it's a different category of a model. We've basically created the biggest model up to date right now. A is the biggest, most robust model. At the same time, requires very little hardware to run, but it's much bigger than Command R. R is 32B. A is 111V. So for different purposes, you will use these different models. Obviously, there will be, you will have to have some sort of balancing act between the speed, efficiency, and performance. I recommend testing all of these for various use cases, and depending on the thing that you're going for, you'll choose the right model. So I wouldn't say it's a successor. Yes, it's a new generation of a model, but it's a different category as well.
Okay, thanks. Excited to test it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have, if you can elaborate more on this, that would be great. If you can't, it's fine. It would be understandable. But one thing that I found interesting about the Cohere models was that while the benchmarks are not all out there, what Aidan said last year is that you guys would never train on the outputs of another model, and you have a very, very robust data team that makes their own data. And I've found that actually useful in trying to get answers that are out of distribution. So today we noticed that with a lot of the models and a lot of the fine tunes, they all kind of start to sound like Sonnet because they might be training on that output. And Cohere was the only one that you could kind of trust to have answers that are not in the same distribution of words that don't have the same pattern, and that's that has always been considered as a great tool to have. So can you go on a bit more on what has gone on the, as much as you can, what has gone like on the data side, and on this regard, and how Cohere trains their models this way? I'm just saying it because this is the one thing that we find most useful from the Cohere models, is that this is like the one large model we have that doesn't sound like everything else, and that is very, very important to have when when you're doing data work.
Yes, so there is this phenomenon that models start to sound a little bit lobotomized. They start to sound like each other, like a version of each other after like few passes. I get it, and I'm frustrated by that as well. In terms of how we've, I think it comes down to the model philosophy. We just wanted to sound distinctly different. We want it to be its own thing. We don't pay so much attention when it comes to the performance or profile of other models. We just want to make our own, the best possible version of it. And at the same time, we are working with bigger clients who have very specific needs when it comes to the model performance, when it comes to the type of data that it can handle, how fast it can go, how much of hardware it's going to require. So I would say all of these are big considerations for us. I cannot go into the details of the data strategy for this command model, unfortunately, but I'm happy to follow up with you on about more information once I check in with the team and check in what's okay to share and what's not okay to share.
Yeah, Nissan loves to challenge our guests, which I also respect. Sandra, be mindful of your time. Thank you so much for coming and giving us an announcement. We have more news to cover for folks. Feel free to stick around with us if you are, or if you want to. Obviously, feel free to drop if you have other things. Folks, we're moving to talk about the next thing. The next thing is the announcement from Google, which is Gemma 3, their flagship open source. We've been talking about Google for a while, and this week they have like 3 announcements that are crazy. So the first one is Gemma 3. Let's talk about this, folks. I want to hear from Wolfram, because Gemma 2 has been out 8 months ago or something, right? Like it came out flash in the pan, and we kind of quickly forgot about this. Gemma 3 is a 27 billion parameter model that runs on a single H100 GPU. I think that this is like biggest. They always try to find like one marketing term, one thing that people will remember, because like the models are very close to be beaten. So like, and the 2 things that I saw from Gemma is, one is it's running on a single H100 GPU. And they claim that you need at least 10x compute to get similar performance from other models. That's literally what Sundar Pichai said. And it gets a high ELO score on the LM Arena compared to model size. So very good, like frontier triangle. Wolfram, what's your take on Gemma 3, Gemma series in general, and Gemma 3?
So it's a very technical achievement in that it is a multimodal model where you have the input. Those are still quite rare, especially when you consider what you can run locally on your systems. So that is great. It has a big context. It is multilingual, very well, and multimodal as well. So from a technical point, it is amazing, and it is very important, especially in European countries where you need those languages it's trained on. So there it will be definitely very strong and very popular. And in the testing, yeah, it's not the biggest model, but it does respectably well. The safety training, on the other hand, that was a bit frustrating, because even when you just give it an error message and say, well, WTF, and it says, oh, not that language, I didn't like that very much. But I'm sure there will be fine-tunes, and it's definitely an important contribution and an important model that way.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the multimodality of this model. This model supports video, and from here I'm showing the evaluations that you ran as well.
Images.
Images. Wait, I thought video as well. Am I mistaken? Somewhere.
By the way, I just quickly wanted to highlight how amazing it is, because I checked, and the Cohere model was only released like 32 minutes or 45 minutes ago on
Yeah.
Hugging Face, and we already have their representatives here. So it was basically a ThursdAI release.
It was a ThursdAI release
Breaking news.
and breaking news
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, we should have hit the breaking news button.
We'll definitely get there. I haven't used it in a minute. Wolfram, I want to review, but I think video as well. Input text, image, output text. No, you're right. For some reason, I got confused with video. I will go and see why that happened. So this is a multimodal, gets images.
But that is
Multimodality.
already a special thing for local models.
Yeah,
There are
that's
not
true.
that many.
And they had something called PolyGemma as well, and PolyGemma was multimodal. So now it's basically this consumes PolyGemma into one like Gemma release, which we saw multiple times before. There's a fine-tuned version of like a multimodality, and then it comes into like the main model.
Oh, and one thing, it also has a system prompt support, which was lacking or missing from Gemma 2, which, it had some drawbacks when you don't have a system prompt. But this now supports system prompts, which makes it more usable, in my opinion.
Okay, this changes what I was gonna say. I was gonna be nice because I thought Omar would show up, but I didn't like as much the text performance. I was testing it on LM Arena. It wasn't bad by any means, but I started comparing it side by side on hard questions with just Quen Coder 32B. So they should be about in the same class, and it wasn't really any better. That's what I found. It definitely was not better than R1. And if you look on the hard prompts arena, it actually scores lower than even than DeepSeek V3. So there is that. But at a 27B model, which you can run pretty well at 5-bit or 6-bit on a 24 gig GPU, this is a very, very compelling value proposal because it might actually end up being the best at multimodal.
Yep.
In that regard, because again, it wasn't that amazing, but it wasn't bad. I think it was pretty like usable. I would say, like if you were stuck with this as a daily driver, it was actually not. It's not. It's not bad. And the other very interesting thing is that they started releasing a little bit their long context technique, and it's like they mix in some layers and they do it in parts. It's very different how we need to look more into that as to how exactly they do long context. There might be good and bad things in there because it might be faster, but also it might lose more quality. So that also needs to be tested. So I'm looking forward to more of the long context testing on it. But again, I'm with Wolfram. The fact that it is multimodal changes the usability a lot on the positive side for this.
So interestingly, we just went to the website to check in the announcement itself, kind of in the comparison between the different models, and there's, I believe, 5 models ranging from 1 billion parameter. So 1 billion, 4 billion, 12 billion, and 27 billion. And the three later, the bigger models, have 128 context window, and they support 140 languages. The 1 billion parameter model supports only English with 32K. They say on the input text and image on the table, but scrolling down and looking at the multimodality section, they say Gemma can use images and videos as inputs, allowing you to analyze images, answer questions about an image, compare images, identify objects, even replay about text within the image. And they also talk about some dynamic adaptive window algorithm to segment input images to work with high resolution and non-square images. If you guys remember, we talked about the SIGLIP a lot when we talked about different models requiring kind of a square image or or tiling and different things like this. So it looks like maybe they support video via just like streaming of sequenced images. But I know for a fact it's worked on that because many multimodal model only support like one image input. So supporting multi-image input, we've talked about this with the folks from Alibaba. Usually it takes a little bit more training for that specific use case, but it looks like video is indeed there. It also fine-tunable as well. And I want to shout out Colin Kilty, who we don't know by Bartowski. He said the best thing about Gemma is the fact that Google specifically helped the open source communities to get day one support, which is great. and it's massive. And I think shout out to Omar Sanseviro and some other folks who work on Gemma models in Google, and we've been waiting for open source from Google. License wise, I think it's Apache 2, folks. But let's go take a look at the license. I think I wrote it down.
I think it's a bit restrictive, but not.
It's not Apache, right?
Restrictive. No, it's not. It's not Apache.
Gemma license.
Correct?
It's the Gemma license.
Okay, it's the regular Gemma license. So you can still use it as a. You can make money with it. You just got to be somewhat careful. I think that's yeah. It is a bit restrictive. So
Yeah.
Justin
cuss at
did not like it at all, but like it wasn't as restrictive as the CC by NC.
So one additional thing that they released together with Gemma 3 is Shield Gemma 2. It's a 4 billion parameter image safety classifier. So it outputs labels on safety categories, and like it works for moderation for synthetic images, but also natural images, and that's pretty cool because that that is missing for many folks. The ability to do this if you're taking images in your product. And you're not just tinkering around. You want to know whether or not the customers are uploading safe stuff, or maybe you want to use a classifier on the other side of the safety. All right, folks, we're moving on. So this is Gemma 3. Congrats to Google for releasing this, and thank you. It also supports 140 languages. That's pretty insane. The next thing that we have in open source, Wolfram, I would love to hear from you a little bit on this. Potentially, is Eurobird. Eurobird is very interesting, specifically because their mascot is kind of like very European. Let me show this super quick. This guy, basically, the Bird series of models kind of adopted the Bert and Ernie character from Sesame Street. So now everybody's just like using. We've talked about Bert and we've talked about modern Bert quite a lot. Those are encoder-only models. They're not LLMs, significantly smaller ones. So Eurobird is a series of models as well, from 210 million parameters all the way to a big 2.1 billion. 2.1 billion, you can already see LLMs in this area. Wanted to hear if you have any thoughts on this at all because of kind of the multilinguality in support.
Yeah, definitely. Because the BERT models, those are the non-flashy stuff where you do text encoding, but you use it for RAG a lot. So it is very important in the background, and having a great model for that is important. In European languages, you have different characters than in other languages, and encoding everything properly is difficult because when you look at the benchmarks for a model, maybe it was just benchmarked with American. So there are the different benchmarks for the different things. I haven't looked where it places, but being specifically for that makes it very important and interesting over here. So we have use cases at work where we are using the other models, and that is definitely a case where we have to check out if this is better. That could be very relevant. And 8K context tokens is also pretty big for an encoding model. That is also very important, that you don't have to split stuff too much up. So if it supports all the different characters in other languages and a bigger context, that makes a lot, has a potential for being much better to make RAG work better.
So absolutely the workhorse of the ML models is BERT models are workhorses, and previously supported lower sequence length. So these models support all like the new bells and whistles. So shout out to folks for using modern BERT. All right, folks, I think we have one more in open source and we can move on to big companies. Reka Flash released. Do you guys remember Reka? We had folks from Reka on the show when we talked about Reka Flash and Reka Core, I believe it was Reka Core, and we've talked about them. Great models, great for multimodal as well. I remember Reka. I was very excited to test out their video capabilities because they kind of understood the video from the audio perspective as well. Not only a series of images, they also kind of connected the audio that happened in the video. So we have a Apache 2 release from Reka, which is great. And not only that, this is the reasoning model. This is a 21 billion parameter Reka Flash 3. It's a reasoning model, Apache 2 license. This looks very good, folks. I will just look at some of the benchmarks here. It beats O1 Mini on GPQA, and it beats O1 Mini and comes very close to Qwen reasoning at human eval. But this is a smaller model. So Qwen 32 billion parameter, that's what they compared it to. And they're getting 96 at human eval, 96.3 versus 97 for Qwen. But Qwen, I don't believe Qwen is multimodal, right? Reka Flash.
Qwen is, but not QVQ.
Not QWQ, right? QVQ is, but not QWQ. It's confusing. So they also have a good AI Me score, and they also do this thing where they kind of add at 64 tries or something. So with 64 tries, they get 70, and they're beating O1 Mini. And this is a tiny model, so this is like super cool. And we have LDJ joining us. LDJ, welcome to the 2-year celebration anniversary. We're talking about Reka Flash. If you had a chance to take a look at this, feel free to join the discussion. What else about Reka, folks? What's interesting here? 21 billion parameter model, compact and efficient, low latency and on-device deployments. Nistan, what's your thought on Reka generally?
Are you guys looking at the benchmarks? This is freaking amazing.
Yeah, yes.
And yeah, so the Reka models have always kind of flown under the radar because like they were almost there but not quite there. However, they were pretty fast from their API side. I think, and this is Apache 2.0 and it's a 21B. I think this might be one of the best like 20B size models that there is right now, and it's Apache 2.0. I think this is a much bigger deal than most people realize. Also, it's getting 61 on GPQA. Sonnet gets like 68, like the older Sonnet, but this is from a tiny 21B, and is doing very well on the math problems as well. It looks like it just it beats Gemma 3 and is a much larger model. This is
they also use I agree with you. This is super amazing. Good. Yeah, this is very cool. So folks, give Reka a try for sure. They also train it with a new version of they call it RLUOO, reinforce leave one out. So like a different version of reinforcement learning as well. If you folks want to address this, LDJ maybe, this is something I haven't seen before, and this is a breakdown from Nathan Lambert, our friend, that talks about reinforcement leave one out versus standard reinforce methods. Right, so I think we can move on if we don't have any other things. Oh, you can download this on the hub, and you have the weights with Apache 2 license, which is super dope. It's a tiny model. It does beat Gemma 3, right, Nissan? Like that's what we're saying just now. The 2 models that came out, Gemma 3 is already kind of Gemma 3 is bigger, and
also when I vibe checked the older model, it was actually quite. It was quite good.
Yeah, I really like them. I really like playing
stuff.
with them.
Yeah.
And you can play with them at chat.reka.ai. I really like playing with them. The multimodal ones are great. So this new one, 3, you can download and use, maybe as your daily driver. All right, so I think that's most of the open source news that we have, folks. I think it's time to move on.
Oh, there is actually one thing that just dropped.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, DJ, welcome. Tell us.
So News Research just dropped Hermes 324B, and it's actually a deep Hermes model. So it's a hybrid reasoning and fast thinking model, and about the same size.
It was already released, or was it just an
announcement? It just released 1 minute ago.
Oh, okay. Hold up.
Yeah.
AI breaking news.
Let's go.
Coming at you only on ThursdAI. All right, folks, we have breaking news. LDJ, give us the update, please. I love using this button. It's been a while.
Yeah, so News Research, it's called Deep Hermes 24B, and they also released a 3B version of it as well. And it's, I think, one of the first, like in general, like hybrid reasoning models, and especially one of the first open source hybrid reasoning models, which basically means with a single model, you can toggle it into a reasoning mode or a fast thinking mode. And Yeah, the benchmarks look really good. If you want to pull up the link that I just put on the side, yeah, you could see the reasoning mode. It gives significant improvement. The benefit here too is you don't have to like switch out the weights between like, fast thinking and a reasoning model. You could just keep the same set of weights in your VRAM or memory, and it's something in the system prompt that you use to toggle between those modes.
So, as we said before, and as kind of Sam Altman announced in the OpenAI plan, the reasoning and non-reasoning models are converging into single models. And Hermes folks, and shout out to Technium and the rest of the news research folks. Hermes were like first in the open source, I believe, to do this. And we've talked with Jun Yang from Quen. He also basically mentioned that they're going towards a unified model. So it looks like everybody's going there. And you can basically tell the models to think. On GPQA, which is Google Proof PhD level questions, regular, which very interesting. Listen, I would love to chat with you about this result. The regular deep Hermes gets 39%, and this new one gets 56% with reasoning mode on. On math, the jump is even crazier, from 23% to 88% on math hard, which is a benchmark that they use. I thought that GPQA is mostly about world knowledge and not necessarily reasoning. Why are we seeing this jump of like 15 points, folks, 17 points? Anybody want to take a guess?
It has a lot of like it's like PhD level science questions that I think it's called GPQA because the GP I think literally stands for Google Proof. So it's actually meant to try and be something where it's like not just something you can Google or some like clear knowledge like that. It is something that does kind of require some type of reasoning. However, I think it has been shown that it's not something that gets as much of a reasoning boost as something like competition math or something like competition code. And it is kind of like a little bit harder to scale with reasoning. So I think that makes it even more impressive when you do see those big reasoning jumps in that benchmark.
Is this a fine tune of Quen? Do we know? Let's take a look.
No,
it's a fine tune of Mistral 24B.
Oh wow!
All
right, yeah.
It's pretty interesting that it got that high of a score on GPK from Mistral, because the model doesn't actually perform all that high. So yeah, it goes to show that reasoning does actually help a lot. Yeah, I'd be interested to try this with more harder coding problems, because again, it is a nice small portable size, which you can run fast. So yeah, and I always wonder why people do why the model has to always be reasoning, because you can train it to do it on and off, and it's not all that hard. So yeah, I'm glad they actually pulled this off. I would like some more info as to like which tokens to use to turn it on and off, so that would help. But we'll find that as we go along.
Yeah, it's in the Hugging Face page. It has the system prompt info that you put in.
Let's take a look.
It just literally, you are a deep thinking AI. You may use extremely long trains of thought to deeply consider the problems and deliberate with yourself via systematic reasoning processes. And the main part is you should enclose your thoughts in internal monologue inside think and close think tags. Then provide your solution or response to the problem. Yep.
So literally, this one string activates the reasoning. It's very interesting, folks. Like just a very interesting discussion about reasoning models in general, right? So like we always had like chain of thought capabilities in prompting. Like since that paper came out, like who can imagine this like one paper, let's think to step by step change the industry and like create a new scaling law, right? But putting this aside, we always had the ability to prompt the models to think via step by step. But these models were trained with RL on verifiable outcomes to actually be better significantly at this and employ this. But now we're kind of coming back. So because these models were like, I don't know, pre-trained, and then with reinforcement learning, they were like trained on chain of thoughts reasoning. Now we're coming back to the fact that you can activate this like mode with this like system message or this like specific message. I find it super cool that we're kind of like, we're basically coming back to one model that we can ask for reasoning when we want to.
I think it was Entropic that were the first. Remember the ant thinking tag they used? That token where entropic thinking, that the model could decide if it is doing that or not. That was probably the first where I saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's interesting that they do this now just with a system prompt with natural language. For example, in the QBQ model, you have to specify a token, which I do actually prefer. But in this case, the model can decide whether it wants to do that type of reasoning or not. We did also know from before that if you give the model a very nice, like a quote unquote, a super prompt, because it's a next token prediction, if it rambles on the structure of this prompt that you gave it, where you say do a root cause analysis or think step by step and stuff, and then it answers it because it has rambled for a while and it has explored that latent space, so to speak, it does often end up with a much better answer versus it just giving the answer outright. And the more interesting part that this was also shown about 2 years ago, or a little over, more than 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, on the first Google MedPalm model, where if they prompted it as a doctor first and then had to give out the answer, it gave something like, it's in their paper, the MedPalm 1 paper, it gave something like 15% better performance. So we've kind of known this for a while, that these next token predictions do end up with better prompting. You do end up with better performance, and I think the training this and getting the model to do it in a way is just like a much better structured way of doing that. So yeah, there's that. We're gonna see a lot more. I think we're gonna see a lot more specialized thinking models too.
Also to announce from News Research, by the way, is their portal inference API release. So right now, so far, you've been able to download the News Research models trained by folks like TechNew and other folks, and just play with them on your own machine. They actually have screenshots here. I don't know if you guys noticed, but shout out to Yags, our friend. The screenshots here are from LM Studio. I know this UI. So shout out to Yags, like the 48 tokens. I gotta wonder how they're running this for getting 48 tokens per second for this model. But the another announcement from News Research is that they released portal News Research, where you can sign up, and on a first come first serve basis, you will get access to their own inference API that serves their models. So no longer just open source. So shout out to folks from News Research and your previous friends, LDJ, or I guess still friends, but like the previous place. I believe you worked with them for a while, right?
Yeah, and I also posted a link to an image right there where it's like a comparison to QWQ32V if you want to see that.
Yeah. Let me try to pull this up. I think they have this in the release, right? No, they don't have it here.
This is in the
it's actually
in their
pretty
Discord
close,
server announcement.
Okay, let me try to pull this up.
QWQ is a bit higher, but it's also a bit bigger too.
Mm-hmm.
That actually comes close. That is very, very interesting. Yeah, it goes to show the technique. The technique works great.
Yeah, so we're looking at GPK Diamond and Math 500 comparison, right? And what are we seeing here? I don't see. Oh, the comparison to QWQ 32B. So Deep Hermes 24 billion parameter gets very, very close on both of them to QWQ 32B. Folks, this is insane. Like literally, we just talked about R1 2 months ago. R1 like got all these like crazy scores. We were like blown away, and then like the whole world pretty much got shocked because R1 is supposedly trained with $5.5 million, which we found out it's only that one run. They also had the run for V3. They also didn't count probably the cost for people's salaries. There's like a bunch of stuff. But basically, we got to these scores 2 months ago with like a huge model, 671 billion parameter R1 thinking model, and now we're getting one by one. Like last week, QWQ 32 billion parameter just came out last week and came very, very close to R1 with 32 billion parameter models, which we also kind of were blown away by. And now we're getting Deep Hermes 24B, which is a fine tune of Mistral, also with reasoning and thinking, getting close to that. So not quite the level of R1, but still, this is a 24 billion parameter model. You can quantize this again, run on 50 tokens per second on your device. 24 billion parameters. This is less than one expert in the MOE of, like, literally, this is like less than one expert in the MOE of R1, which is, this is crazy. This is crazy. Shout out to Hermes folks for fine tuning this. We got a great open source week this week. Great with Gemma, with Command A, now with this model, with Reka Flash, with Apache 2 license, with like multimodal as well. We got a great open source week this week. I'm very, very happy. We're coming up on an hour, and it looks like we've covered most of the open source stuff that we
Command
wanted
A,
to.
unfortunately, isn't fully open because it's only non-commercial, but it's
Yes.
definitely local. So local.
Yeah, open weights, you can play with
Strong.
them. Yeah, open source and open weights is, I keep using this interchangeably. Even after 2 years of doing this, I keep using this interchangeably. But yes, Command A is open weights. Reka is open source. Hermes, everything they do. Let's actually look at the license of this. Do we know the license, folks?
By the way, I am super excited about Reka's model because, Gemma, I haven't tested the newest one. While Gemma was not getting those the very hard questions, like the Martian questions, right? Reka is getting them spot on.
Really?
Yeah. So if I'm gonna pick a favorite out of today, I think that's gonna be my my new daily. But I'm gonna test the Hermes one too.
All right, folks,
Put
you
it on
heard
my
this here
list to
first.
test as well.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
Deep
of stuff
Hermes
to
is
test.
Apache 2. Sorry.
Deep Hermes is Apache 2.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we got like a bunch of Apache 2 licenses on open source, which is incredible, folks. All right, I think that this is it for open source, unless there's one more. Anybody else wants to do a breaking news? But I think it is it for open source, folks. And I think we're coming up on 1 hour.
There was open source.
Open source. Can you give us a? I think okay. We'll get this in the video and vision section after.
Yeah.
After the next section. Okay. So folks, we are coming up on 1 hour. I want to do a quick reset here and say that you are on ThursdAI, your weekly AI news show that's been, incidentally, this is our birthday today. So we've been on for 2 years doing this every week. And our motto is we stay up to date so you don't have to. And by we mean not only me, Alex Volkov, the host and AI evangelist for Weights and Biases, but also we have Wolfram here, we have Nistan, and we have LDJ, the usual co-hosts. And we also have the community, so folks like Lincoln and folks like Sandra that just joined us, and many folks from different labs that we love to host here. Jun Yang from Alibaba Quen, and we have just like a bunch of great folks joining us to talk about some of the stuff that happened this week. So this week we're celebrating the second birthday of the live show. I told this, Wolfram, I told this to you in the beginning of the show. We actually have 2 birthdays. One of them is the live show. So we're live on Twitter Spaces, although it looks like most people prefer to watch us. We have like over 1,000 folks watching us today. But for the Twitter Space, there's a few folks holding on to dear life. I see Stefan, I see Ron, I see Luis, I see Nigmatic, Varun, Memo Sparkfield is there, Brad, like Bertowski is still there, Lincoln, Ian, like all great folks, Morgan, Colleen, Ryan. There's like a bunch of great folks who come back from week to week and just listen. Just walk around, probably doing some stuff. But most of the folks have joined us on the video. So, hey, everyone. And I'm very, very happy that you are joining all of this. I'm extremely excited to say that, we're going to keep going strong. Like, ThursdAI has been around for 2 years. It's grown a lot. It's grown a lot. I believe we passed 5,000 subscribers on Substack just a week ago. The podcast in its various forms get downloaded thousands of times at this point. I stopped counting. I think we're coming up to like 250,000 downloads overall. Maybe you should go check because I think that's super, super cool. So it's been an awesome time to kind of do the podcast with you guys for a while. And I will just say, we're coming up on 100,000 total downloads for the podcast. 100,000 total downloads for the past 1.5 years, let's say, because the podcast started a little bit after the live shows. It's been incredible for me to be here with you and just talk about AI stuff every time, getting responses from the community about how to actually do this, how it helps many people. Obviously, it advanced my career to an incredible place as well. So I'm loving to travel the country and meet many of you. Also, Wolfram met some folks and listeners of ThursdAI in Germany as well. And Nistin and I, we hosted a little dinner in Toronto. And we kind of like met some supporters of ThursdAI, listeners of ThursdAI. So if you are a listener, the best thing that you can do to support us for the second year anniversary, give me a little gift, is share this with a friend or two. Basically, there's many people who want to start with AI. They have no idea how. It's overwhelming to them, the amount of stuff that's coming out. We're trying to lower down this barrier of entry. We're trying to remove the doomerism, the scare. We're trying to bring you the news such that you won't fear what's coming because you don't know and don't understand it. This is the purpose of ThursdAI. This is the reason why I call myself AI evangelist. I believe, Wolfram, you started using AI evangelism as well in your title. This is what we're trying to do here. And I really appreciate the fact that this works and people are connecting with this. Also, I'm very, very excited to be supported by Weights and Biases. As you guys see on my cool hoodie here, on my cool jacket here, and which I love the jacket. Shout out to Sam, my colleague, who just like came to work and just like, I'm gonna create swag of my own. I'm not gonna ask anyone, and created like the best swag that I ever had. That everybody here at the offsite is kind of like jealous of. It's super cool. And Weights and Biases is supporting this project. And shout out to Morgan McGuire and Lavanya Shukla, my dear colleagues. Lavanya is my manager right now. Morgan has been for the past year, who took a chance on me and on ThursdAI and added the ThursdAI to the Weights and Biases community, and now very soon to the CoreWeave community as well. So I really wanted to appreciate for a second on our birthday the fact that this has not been possible without Weights and Biases. Likely at some point I would needed to have a quote unquote real job and may not have the time to invest and do I want to say more than 100 episodes. I need to go and count, folks, but like for sure we did a lot of spaces so far, and I probably need to know the exact number. But we don't do numbers here. We do weeks, and for this week, for March 13th, we had a great open source week. But I want to reminisce for a second on the birthday. That's what folks do. Folks, ThursdAI started when GPT-4 came out. GPT-4 came out on March 14th, 2023, so exactly 2 years ago. And nobody uses GPT-4 anymore. I don't know a single one person that uses the model that came out and was completely blowing everybody away back then. Actually, it wasn't blowing anybody away. You guys remember, like, it was hard for people to understand the difference. We were getting excited, but it was hard for people to like get the difference. Kind of similar to what GPT 4.5 right now has, and people are like, "Oh, it's a little bit better at this and this and this and that." GPT 4 came out. It wasn't multimodal. Back then, none of the models were multimodal. We were excited. Listen, I don't know if you remember, but like we were like, yeah, they announced multimodality. I remember to this day, Greg Bachman sitting with a sketch of a website, and he showed the sketch to the model, and the model kind of like understood what's going on. To us, this was mind-blowing back then. Mind-blowing that the model that like supposedly spits out text tokens can now see. And then for the next, I want to say like 5 good months, we did not get the multimodality. We were just like waiting for multimodality, so nothing of this was multimodal. Obviously, the evals were nothing compared to what we have right now. As we talked about LDJ last week, 4.5, the 0.5 releases for OpenAI are 10x the size of the model. So 4.5 that came out last week is 10x of GPT-4 from back then. And supposedly GPT-5 is going to be 100x or something like this. I want to hear from you guys. What else do you remember from that period that we're like, oh, I context windows. Let's talk about context windows from that period. Wolfram, what do you remember from back then?
Context. When you were getting 4K and you were saying, oh, 8K would be so big and great. And we were so happy when we could raise that limit. And now we are at numbers where we don't even, I personally don't use the full 128K most of the time now, because 32K or 64 is enough for my VRAM. So, and the quality, what we got in just the 2 years, that is such an amazing journey we have been on. Think back what happened, and that we can now run these models, which we have seen right now. the benchmarks and everything. It's amazing that we can do that locally now. It's just mind blowing. The acceleration, you can feel it.
We
I
absolutely
remember.
have. Let me just say this, Nissan. Please go ahead after this. We now have 3 billion parameter models that beat whatever we got with GPT-4. This is insane. 3 billion parameter models running on my, I don't know, smart glasses. I don't know. Like the world has moved on so quick since then, and we've been through all of this here. Nissan, go ahead.
I remember I had early access to GPT-4 32K, and then the person for the contract that had given me access, they cut it off because on the one weekend I didn't realize how expensive it was, so I'd use $180 worth of tokens just trying it out, just chatting to it on Azure, and yeah, so that was a big deal, and it was very slow, and
very slow.
yeah, I also remember having to build like other systems that had to use like the 4K window, and then you had to do some kind of summary, so you had to chop it down to 2K max so you could fit the prompt and the summary in as you're going on the next prompts. Yeah, and now we just dump like 300,000 tokens into Gemini or Quen 1 million at home, and it just eats it. So yeah.
We can do it, and we don't even have to pay so much. The money, the price has gone down. Of course, we have other options that are still very expensive and very strong, but intelligence too cheap to measure. That has been the slogan, and I think it's true, and we are seeing it.
Absolutely. And LDJ, go ahead.
Speaking on what Nissan just said about the cost, I remember back then they used to do the cost based on per 1,000 tokens instead of per million.
Yes.
And if you actually go back and do the cost, like do the calculation of how much was the 32K cost in like cost per million, it actually is like about $120 it was per million tokens on launch. And that's actually like, you know, it's pretty close to I think it's like $150 for GPT 4.5 per million. And it's just kind of funny how like the way that the pricing is presented becomes changed, but over time it seems like there's like roughly the maximum frontier that's released seems to be around the same cost, while the later optimized versions continue to drop.
The price per one per 1,000 tokens is crazy. Yeah. Also, nothing like, again, multimodality wasn't there, multilinguality wasn't there, folks. The OpenAI API that we're gonna talk about, the kind of the third version of this, I'm assuming in a second, wasn't announced until like maybe a month before this. There was no wrappers. There was nothing back then, and we were already getting excited. There's a lot of vision models or like image diffusion models for sure. We were like playing around with this, Alpaca and like all these things. You guys remember like like the open source basically started after people played with GPT-4 back then, 2 years ago, and they exported the chats and started training them. So Alpaca and what was the second one? Vicuna came out. Yeah, all of them were fine tunes on top of on top of like outputs for GPT-4, which made a significant big change. Like and then Georgia released llama.cpp afterwards, so that was like a huge like deal with GPT-4. Like it kicked, like it also like opened the floodgates for many folks creating synthetic data for fine tuning as well. So just a great release 2 years ago, and a lot has changed in the last 2 years. We're now all using AI every day.
Can we use it still through the API? Is it still selectable, or did they remove it? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think it's selectable. I at least in the UI, I think I've seen this, and it's like hidden in the UI. Let's take a look. I think they didn't deprecate that necessarily. If you go and do Go models, yeah, GPT-4 legacy model, you can still use. Now, it's not the same model that we got. GPT-4 then got upgraded with like function calling, like a bunch of stuff in the
Turbo
API.
and stuff.
Yeah, and then Turbo came out and 4.0 came out. So basically, folks, incredible 2 years. It's really interesting sometimes to pause and think how fast we're moving, because you know, maybe to us following every week it seems like obvious. Oh, of course, million context window. Of course, like this or that. And we kind of get hedonistically adapted to change. And we're like, oh, that model was multimodal with like 4K context window. And now what do you mean I cannot send my whole repo of 600,000 tokens and get an answer immediately in Cursor? Why is Cursor so slow? We're asking. So I find it like very beneficial and helpful at these anniversary points to stop and kind of look back and say, we're on a fucking rocket ship. The exponential rate of change across every possible thing is incredible. I now have AI models I talk to every day for at least an hour. Shout out to Oren and Seren, which I think I mentioned to you guys as well. It's become my daily driver for personal health and ideation. But also, just generally, I use AI in pretty much everything, and I haven't back then. So like this script, the thing that I'm going to use after I'm talking to you guys to edit the podcast, has like 17 different models built in. Then I'm going to take the edited stuff and run it through like 3 different other models to give me some advice. We're all using AI now all the time, and that wasn't the case back then. Back then, like, we're just getting used to ChatGPT. So a lot of stuff has happened in the past 2 years. I'm very, very happy that I was here and we were here to kind of support you to this, to let you know what's going on behind the scenes on every little release. A lot of our predictions also came true. Like, models of that size, of that intelligence, are now completely local, completely offline, if you want them to be. And that the trend just continues to go towards intelligence too cheap to meter. So with that, happy birthday for ThursdAI, folks. Happy second anniversary. I'm going to do another one of these. And I think that this is a good point to go to this week's buzz. And this week's buzz is a category of ThursdAI, a segment of ThursdAI, where I talk about everything that happened in the world of weights and biases, and I give my co-host a little break and for the next 5 minutes. And then afterwards, we're going to come back and talk about big companies, folks. We have huge announcements from OpenAI, from Gemini. There's like a bunch of stuff, so stick with us. Definitely worth staying here for the next update from big companies, because they release some cool stuff that we all have to talk about. And we also have some breaking news from Google as well, so stick around after. Well, stay for this. This is not ads. I really want you to hear about weights and biases as well, so don't go away. I just like letting my co-host get a little breather. So let's do this week's buzz. Welcome to this week's buzz, a corner in ThursdAI where I talk about weights and biases. And this week, I'm coming to you from the not so sunny California, which is very upsetting. We came here for sun and beach and pool, and then the storm came. So not so sunny California. You can see the palm trees behind you. You can see the ocean, the Pacific. Excuse me, the Pacific Ocean behind me. The whole weights and biases team, all of us from around the world, we're a distributed company. We work in, I don't know how many countries at this point. Folks from India came in, folks from London came in, folks all over Argentina came in, all to meet and build and ideate the next versions of weights and biases and Weave, and obviously our new acquiring company, CoreWeave, which I will definitely start telling you about as the kind of the thing progresses. So last week I've announced here on stage, and it was kind of leaked in the news as well, the CoreWeave, the Neo Cloud, one of the Neo Clouds. So if you don't know what CoreWeave is, and you don't know what Lambda or Nebius, etc., one of the clouds are specifically dedicated for AI. CoreWeave decided to acquire weights and biases for a sum that is leaked somewhere out there. You go and take a look. And it's been a whirlwind of news since then. A lot of folks sending me congratulations. A lot of confusion as well within the folks, because acquisitions are a tricky business, and many people are like unsure like what's going on. So putting that aside, as much as we can, we all gathered here in Oceanside and did a bunch of stuff together. And so shout out to my colleagues. I'm really, really happy to be here and meet everyone. And also, I did some ThursdAI evangelism here within the Weights and Biases kind of team as well. We had breakaway rooms, and basically we had an unconference as part of it. Unconference means we did not plan ahead of the time the talks. We didn't create slides. We didn't do anything like this. Basically, there was a whiteboard, and we came up and we said, hey, who wants to talk about what? You guys know, yours truly knows about AI news. So I came up and I was the first on the board and I said, Alex, what's new in AI for the past month? And I literally just pulled up ThursdAI episodes and I just like talked and covered like what is the latest and greatest. People seem to love that. So if we have new listeners who are listening to this now because you were in that room with me, welcome to ThursdAI. So shout out to the whole team. I really, really appreciated the fact that we got to hear from Lucas Bewald, the CEO, our CEO, from about the acquisition, about the history of the company, about the recap. All of these great things have happened here on the offside. Also, one thing that happened on the offside, besides the on-conference, I also got to talk AGI with like 50 people. Somebody said, "Hey, we should have a conversation, another conversation about the different topics that's not news." Alex, do you want to do one? I was like, "Sure. Let me talk about doomerism and how to counter it." And it was like, I don't know, a bunch of chairs arranged in a circle. And I thought there's like 5-7 people will show up. We'll have a conversation. It was like around 70 people showing up. So I don't know about you, but I never had an AGI conversation like in a circle of 70 of my closest friends. It was like really, really interesting. But also, I think we did this well because people were able to raise their concerns or things they're thinking about and don't know how to think about different AGI. I was put in a devil's advocate position, so I actually played the doomer. It was really unpleasant for me to play the doomer position. You guys know how I feel about AI, and we had someone there, Adam, shout out to Adam, our head of design, who is maybe even more AI pilled than me, which is hard to find, and he was like putting me on the other seat, so I had to play the devil's advocate. That was really great. So shout out to folks who came up to this. And the other thing that we had is a hackathon, and we wanted to basically come together because we are working remote. There's members of my team that I haven't met so far at all, and this is the first time meeting them after a year and a half at the company. And we actually had a hackathon, and we wanted to do agents as much as possible. Folks, we want to build 2025 is the year of agents, everybody says, and so we want to build tooling for agents as well, and great things are coming. I've seen some incredible stuff that I cannot wait to show you how we can improve your agent building process with Weave, from Weights and Biases, with Weights and Biases itself. However, we also wanted to kind of play around with the newest and latest and greatest. Sometimes we don't get the chance to. The developers, they develop the stuff that's on the roadmap. Sometimes we don't often get the chance to. So we wanted to come and do a hackathon for agents. And then MCP came out. So before we planned this, we were like, okay, agents. And then last week on the show, we had multiple folks, and MCP was like the hottest new thing. MCP, for those who don't know what MCP is, please listen to the last week's show. The explanation is fully there, but it stands for Model Context Protocol. Is the way to give AI agents powers in a standardized way. And because of this, we decided, and I pushed for an MCP hackathon. Basically, we started the hackathon. It was not a long one. We had like maybe 3 hours, so like a flash hackathon. We decided to all put our hands and play around with MCP servers and clients, etc. And I gotta tell you, within the 3 hours, the amount of innovation that like folks started doing with MCP was so great. Which means two things. One of them, I work in an incredible company with incredibly awesome people, developers who can vibe code like the rest of them. Like literally, we also had a hackathon about vibe coding and people just like writing to Claude and windsurf. But the second thing is MCP standard is so awesome, and it's so great that we've caught up to this in the last show, that you can now just build cool things and wrap them and give AI superpowers with your cool things. So we saw folks building agents for our website, for example. Brian, who was our web manager, who builds our WordPress websites, he built an MCP that connects to WordPress, and you can talk in Claude and basically do things in WordPress. You can say, hey, create a draft about this thing, and it puts it in the WordPress drafts already. Josiah from our Weave team, for example, built MCP support into the playground. You guys know, and I talked about our playground a lot. Inside Weave, you can use different models, and now MCP support is coming there as well. Morgan on our team, he built the MCP support for Weave and Weights and Biases. So now our API is going to be as an MCP server, so you can add this to any agent. So if you're working with any code, chat, etc. that supports MCP, you'd be able to ask about your Weights and Biases runs, and you'd be able to see like last curve stuff, and you'd be able to see analysis. Like super cool stuff came out of this like very short, like 3-hour hackathon. Our CEO Lucas also was hacking on some stuff. Adam, our head of design, has an agent framework. Our CTO, that's still, if you guys remember, we're still the top on Sweetbench verified agents with our agent WB programmer. So our CTO came and like also did some MCP cool things. He also shared with us how he is on top. So I can't wait to share this with you as well, because we're still the top place. Like we're still waiting for another submission to come through from, I think, Claude 3.7, but for now we're at the top place. So I was just exposed to an incredible amount of talent from Weights and Biases during this hackathon, during this week, and I'm very excited to bring the show to you from here as well, while everybody else is listening to like some guest speakers or something. I think that pretty much covers it from Weights and Biases. Very excited, very exciting time to be at this place, and also one thing that was in the news that we all kind of started talking about this as well. CoreWeave and OpenAI announced a new deal. For the next 5 years, OpenAI is going to invest, I believe, $11.9 billion in CoreWeave, which is, I think, part of the project Stargate. I'm not entirely sure if it is, so I don't want to confuse. But basically, I'm not able to hype anything, so I'm just reporting on what was reported already. And so this deal was very much talked and discussed here on the offset as well. So I think that's pretty much it for us. And now we have some breaking news and big companies and APIs. So I want to welcome folks to the stage after this breaking news. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. So this is our breaking news.
Whole news segment.
Yeah, dude, we're a news show. What do you mean? Like, people come here to get the news, and we have breaking news as well. And this breaking news for now is not Deep Hermes. The breaking news for now comes from Google, and Logan just posted something that I want to show you folks. They have announced that Deep Research is now available for all users for free. Not OpenAI's Deep Research, Google's Deep Research. In the Gemini app that you go and download, and I will do so right now because I haven't played with it yet. I didn't, I played with everything, but I didn't want to pay that as well. If you could download the Gemini app, it's now powered by their new Gemini thinking model, or Flash thinking model, and the Deep Research part, which OpenAI basically also has. I will download the Gemini right now. It's now free to all users. Free, folks. This is like... OpenAI's Deep Research is still, I believe it came to the Pro tier, the Plus tier. So it started with Pro tier only for $200 a month. Then it came to Plus tier last week, Deep Research, and then Grok released Deep Search, and that also cost money. I think that's now also for free, but now Google, the original Deep Research, the OG Deep Research, got an update, and also it's now for free. On the Google Gemini app that has 5-star reviews and like 150,000 people. So I think that's big. I really want to try it. The Flash, experimental with apps, etc. Do you guys know how to actually try this one? I really want to try this one.
I just checked on Gemini website and I do not see it.
I believe it's only in the app and not on the website.
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah.
Do you mean like the like gemini.google.com/app?
No, like on the actual like iOS and
okay,
and etc. Maybe it hasn't rolled out fully, but here's an announcement. And
I see it. You need the business account for it.
It may be rolling out slower and will like land in everybody else's. But basically, Deep Research is the way of Google to go and do like a fan-out search, very similar to AI mode that we talked with Robbie Stein last week, and it's available for 45 languages. I'm very excited about this. I want to try. Oh yeah, there's a button here on the website as well. Do you guys see this? Try Deep Research at no cost. They don't even say free. They say no cost. And if you go to Gemini.google and you skip the prompt to use this, I don't know advanced. I think they just didn't roll it out yet, folks, because I'm trying at no cost, and I don't see this yet in Deep Research.
I have it. I can share.
You got it? Okay. I want to see. Yeah, let's take a look.
for some reason tinted in. Okay, share entire screen. What could possibly go wrong? All right.
Yes.
Okay. So it is doing the research. I'm just doing the regular
What did you ask for?
Martian question. I don't know. Let's just look at.
Can you find me some
How
places in
does-
San Diego to eat lunch, Nistan?
How does GRPO work, and what are the latest advancements and alternatives to it, i.e., from Reka or labs in China? I don't know. That's a very, so let's just see the interface. It tries to put together first a
Oh,
plan.
interesting.
So yeah, it gives you a plan, and then you start the research. Okay, the interface looks very slick, actually. Oh, and you can say show thinking. Does it say the sites that are browsed? So I'm running 2 of them. I know people don't like it sometimes when I switch very fast. So on this other one, if you say show sites browsed, I asked it the question about NASA, and it's opening all the Encyclopedia Britannica, some NASA sites, Wikipedia. Okay, I really like this is the nicest interface
This is very
so
nice, yeah.
far that I've seen. Let's do show thinking. So it is finding GRPO basics.
So not only is this a free feature now, they also upgraded this to Gemini Thinking, which is pretty good, folks. I'm enjoying Gemini Thinking for at least like the ThursdAI stuff. I don't use it for everything, but definitely upgraded deep research with Gemini Thinking. I think it was Gemini 2 before. I think that's great, because you do need reasoning when you do like research. You do need to look and kind of think about this. And listen, from what I'm seeing on your screen, it keeps researching a bunch of other websites. So it keeps adding like, I don't know, tens of websites at this point, right?
66 websites so
Yeah.
far. Well, that's and it's a lot of YouTube videos. There's no tweets in here, which is
Yep.
an advantage that
Grok has, yep.
But also, I'm really liking the websites it is referencing. It's even referencing Slashdot, which is interesting. Yeah, this looks 110 websites researched. Okay, so it did. Let's see if it got the right answer though. 10 to 10. 10 to 10. Yeah, it got the right answer with the deep
yeah.
research as far, and it actually used. So that's the final result. It just and you can do export to docs. That's very nice, actually.
That's nice, yes, yeah.
Oh, this interface is so nice. I don't like. And then it just exports the whole thing. Okay, that is pretty sweet. I don't like that it hides the. I can no longer see.
The list of websites?
Oh wait, actually they're all here. They're all here. And it does also list the hosts. Okay, this is a very nice interface. This is
So
nicely
let me just
done.
like explain to folks who are only listening. If you go to the Gemini website right now, probably the app as well. Now, when you're searching, you have a drop down there for deep research, and now when you're asking for something, you'll get the same kind of thing like deep research from OpenAI has. Which this was the original deep research of a follow-up plan of what it's going to do. And then it went to 156 websites for Nistan to answer this question about GPRO advancements and alternatives. And 156 websites is crazy, and it summarized a bunch of them. And it gave a list of all of them, and also went to some websites, came back, got a conclusion, decided to go search again, went to some websites, came back, decided a conclusion, did like a bunch of reasoning on top of back and forth on this, which is super, super cool. And now it's free because Google can do this. Google has a bunch of GPUs, and they can just like price out everybody else. So shout out to Google for this amazing release. This is not the only release Google did though this week. So let's talk about some of the other stuff that they released. Nistan, while you're already sharing, would you like to try the image generation? I can try it. I can try it.
You can try it. You have it. I don't see it here.
Yeah.
so-
I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys in a second. So
Okay, yeah,
basically, another thing that Google announced finally, and I've been waiting for this because this one I did have early access to for a second, but not as much as I haven't played with it as much. Basically, native image generation. So, folks, for those who are listening and don't know what this means, we had DALL-E for a while integrated into ChatGPT, so you can ask ChatGPT to generate images. Also, Grok has what they used to call Aurora, and then Elon Musk flipped and doesn't like the name Aurora. But basically, Grok also has like a tool basically to generate images. Gemini just released a native image generation, images and text native generation. Native means so much. So here's an example. I can paste an image of us sitting in the chat, and I can say add birthday hats and confetti to all the images, to all the people in this image, right? So I just uploaded a screenshot of the four of us, well, three of us and a cat that LDJ has in his on his profile, and I will just ask add the birthday hats and confetti to all the people in this image, and you can see that because this model is multimodal on the inputs and also on outputs now, right? So this is the multimodality on the output. It generates images and text, and you can see it's super quick. Do you guys see this? Ta-da! We have our first celebratory confetti image with hats.
Actually good.
This is super cool, right?
You know
Okay,
what
so
really?
for everybody else, aistudio.google.com, and then just open. What'd you do again, Alex? Just in the regular.
Gemini 2 Flash experimental, and then the drop-down in output format is images and text.
Oh, okay, so in AI Studio, you select images and text, and then you can drop in a picture and tell it to edit it. Okay, that is actually nice.
And you can keep talking to it. So I can say add sunglasses, and then it also
You can
took
do
us.
text. It's great with text. I wanted it to generate an image to
wow.
go with some text, and then put my complete text on the image in a font. It was really amazing.
Can you turn us all into cats
Birthday
and add ThursdAI and turn us all into cats? Yeah.
Text on top in bold,
Okay,
beautiful.
this is actually
red.
fun. This looks very fun.
This is so fun, dude. Literally, and also the speed with which it happens. It happens with 6 seconds. Yeah, look at this. This is so cool. Turn us all into cats. Turn
This is
all
great.
people into cats.
Now, what will be really cool is when it's like scaled up more, actually better quality, and then it'll actually look like we have glasses on, and like it'll realistically look like we have a real hat on, you know?
Maybe have to tell it, make it realistic.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Folks, are you watching this? Are you watching this? Now all of us are cats.
Can you zoom into it?
Yes.
You can full screen it actually. It
Yeah,
has a
yeah,
full
let's
screen
full screen.
button on it.
Can you ask it? Can you make the hats and glasses look more realistic, like they're actually on the person?
I don't know. I just want to tell you that the cats, they seem to be like Wolfram cat is in the hoodie. My cat
Yeah.
is in the same kind of like yellow jacket that I wear. Your cat is within your thing, and Nissan's cat is like with Nissan's background. This is super cool. Make them ultra realistic.
How many jobs did they just X?
This is so awesome. So native outputs for images, folks, and has 32,000 tokens. You can upload, you can play with images, you can edit. They tried to make it realistic, and then I don't know if it made them ultra realistic.
Maybe you have to specify the hats and glasses.
Yeah. All right. I think that, but like, I think we got the point, right? Like this
Yeah.
native image output is super fun for folks who haven't played with this. This is really great, folks. I'm really enjoying this. I'm gonna send this out as a comment to the show, folks, for listening, so they will be able to see us as well. This is really fun. Let me go and post this as a comment. So
It's also a sign what we will see in like Photoshop, for example, where you expect to just talk to it and have it do everything that a graphic designer would be doing.
100%. Our birthday. Well, let me put it this way: our birthday celebration with Gemini image outputs, like this. This is really awesome, folks. So folks are sending us congratulations. This is great. Folks, let's talk about the next thing that Google also released, which, so they had Gemma, they had images natively, and they also had something for robotics. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you guys see the native robotic stuff? Let's go.
I saw a
pull it
little
up.
bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go pull up super quick. We'll just briefly cover this. I don't think we have like a lot going on there to deep dive, but I think I saw it in. Somebody sent it to me. Robotics. Give me a sec.
Wait, sorry. What is this? I got distracted with turning people into cats.
Yeah. So you kept playing with this.
Yeah.
Image generation. Yeah. Gemini Robotics is a new thing that they decided to announce, which is, I believe, models. Let's take a look together. So Gemini 2, latest AI models that's called Gemini Robotics, designed for a new generation of helpful robots, and they have a video here with this kind of vision language action model for robotics. So taking natural input in, and then images and different outputs or like actions of what robots can do. And doing things like origami, packing lunch. They have all these kind of things. This is actually super cool. I haven't actually looked at this, but this is super cool. We're seeing robots like closing a zip tie bag, and doing different like work. I didn't consider that Google is also going to do robotics, but why wouldn't they, right? So we have Figure, and we have like a bunch of like other robotics, obviously Tesla Optimus, but this is now Gemini Robotics. I think they released 2 models, Robotics and Robotics ER. Yeah. So basically, Gemini for the physical world. Most advanced vision language action model, and vision language action model. So VLAM, right? Vision language action model, and a general understanding, world understanding. And we can look at the demo. Let's take a look at the demo. So we're watching a demo of robots generalized across different tasks. And we see robotic arms just like trying to organize the desktop, picking up the pens, handling to each other. These robots look a little bit 3D printed with some actuators. That's pretty cool. Yeah, folks. So Gemini for robotics is now here with like a vision model. Nothing else maybe to cover here until we get the robots in our houses. But I feel like that's gonna come. The other thing I wanted to do for the 2 years of anniversary is like imagine what the next 2 years is gonna look like. But we can probably do this next model. Right. So the next thing that I want to cover. Okay, let's talk about OpenAI. We have to talk about OpenAI. OpenAI had a developer live stream yesterday, and
You can't have a Google release week without OpenAI releasing some stuff, I
absolutely,
think.
they cannot help themselves but like just get add to hype. And so they have announced a new API and a set of tools for agents. And let's cover this because I think that's super cool and very valuable for folks who are listening to us, who are AI engineers. So I have actually notes on this. So let's read through it. OpenAI released a new SDK for agents. They called it the Responses API. If you guys are familiar and if you've built anything with AI so far with OpenAI, that is the Completions API. So Completions API has been around for like a lot of time, and now they have a new kind of standard API for agents. It's called the Responses API. They make it a simple interface for text generation, natural language processing, computer vision, and a bunch of like other stuff together. And they have like a quick start for this as well. What is interesting about this? Like basically a new API that they started like working about. Now the thing that I heard, and I will recommend the Latent Space Pod of our friend Swix. So shout out, happy birthday, because he talked with Romain and the folks who built this API on the Latent Space. So I'll add this to the show notes if you want to do like a deep dive listening to this. But basically, the first question they asked is whether or not the Completions API that was adopted by pretty much everyone. Pretty much everyone now uses the OpenAI kind of completion API with like the messages and the system message, etc. And they said that that's not going away anytime soon. So you can choose whether or not to use this Responses API. I will also mention that around a year and something ago, they also announced the Assistance API. If you guys remember that, and that I think is getting deprecated. So Assistance API, not many people liked it. Some people liked it. It did some RAG for you, like built in. It did some vector search. So that basically is now going away. So if you played around with this, time to switch to responsive API. They also announced 3 new tools. The web search tool, which is awesome from OpenAI. And I had friends who were asking me like, "Hey, why aren't they offering like the web search?" So basically, from OpenAI, you can now have an API that like searches the web for you because that's what the kind of the models do. And you can have another tool that they have is computer use tool. So that's super cool, right? So the same model, excuse me, please. The same model that powers the operator agent. Now we can actually have access to it. The computer use tool is very similar to what Anthropic kind of gave us, and I believe Anthropic that's like a special version in headers. So now we get access from OpenAI to this computer use tool.
But it's still limited to who they give access to with the computer use tool. That is
Oh
still
yeah.
restricted. Yeah, unfortunately, because it was the one I was most excited about, but it's limited user availability for now.
And do you want to cover the file search tool as well, Wolfram? Have you looked at that release or the video?
I think it's where you can upload files and have it search through them, right?
Yeah, so they basically give us the RAG system, and if you don't want to implement your RAG system, you can just upload a bunch of files. They will do the chunking, the processing, the re-ranking, like all of the stuff for you, and you'll basically have this is a RAG API from OpenAI, basically file search tool, and those tools are existing for agents. They also have a new agents SDK with integrated observability tools. Which why would you use them if you have Weave? I'm saying, but yeah, they have integrated with a bunch of stuff. Hopefully, we'll integrate with Weave as well. So they integrated with a bunch of our competitors. But basically, they now have like a new agents SDK, which started as Swarms, which came out from OpenAI, and now this agents SDK is like basically like a framework for agents from OpenAI, which is super cool. And shout out to OpenAI for this like update to the release. As always, this impactful for some folks who are building, less impactful for some other folks. But I will just say that these things unlock huge swaths of compatibility and innovation in the field of folks building with agents. Nissan, I don't know if you work with OpenAI's APIs at all, but what's your take on some of these tools that we got from?
I don't use their APIs. It's been a while. Unless I only use it for Open Router whenever I am so.
Yeah. So that's also an interesting question, whether or not OpenRouter will support kind of this like new standard, etc. Even OpenRouter supports the OpenAI SDK. Many folks support that one. So this is new from OpenAI. And I think that this is pretty much it from the big companies, right, folks? Anything else that we've missed from huge companies or APIs this week? Google basically won this week with the releases. Absolutely. With the image generation, now with deep research. I actually need to add this because I don't have this in my note, but deep research for free and upload. Yeah, absolutely. And Gemma, Google absolutely crushed it this week. Absolutely crushed it. I think that's pretty much it. Deep research is now free in Gemini app and powered by Gemini Thinking. Yeah, okay, so this is from OpenAI, and we also already mentioned the news released Portal, which is there serving their own models as well. Let's move on to vision and video, because we wanted to talk about open source super quick, right, folks? And I wanted to show you these like 8 LoRa video effects for 1x. So a few weeks ago, while we pull up open source, a few weeks ago, 1x from Alibaba came out, and their like video model. A few weeks ago or last week, things are flying. So basically, I wanted to show you that now we have video effects from Remade AI. I just wanted to show you how cool this is. So we know that like Pika Labs and other ones have video effects. This is a LoRa. Because that model was open source, you can see a bunch of video effects like crush effect and rotate and basically like squish and like do all kinds of stuff. Now this is open inflate and deflate and cakeify. Cakeify is my favorite one. There's this trend on TikTok of folks making incredible cakes and then just slicing them and you don't know it's a cake even. So all of those effects, what I liked about this is because one is open source and you can try it on file, you can try it on your computer. You can do LoRa's, you can train different video effects, and I really like the fact that like video effects are now like trainable on top of the video model. That was super cool to me. Who wants to talk about open source super quick? I haven't actually looked at it. I think Nissan, you brought it up, right?
Yeah. I just saw that they released it.
Yeah,
I didn't try it. I'm on ThursdAI now, so I'm seeing if I can do something.
yeah. Let's take a look. So Open Sora is this guy. Let's take a look together. From Yang Yu, Open Sora 2, the open source state-of-the-art level video generation model trained for just 200,000 tokens, $200,000, 11 billion parameter model. They say they achieves on par performance with Hunyuan video and 30B step video. Oh, that's pretty cool. Training costs significantly reduced. Movie Gen Open Sora is 224 GPUs for $200,000. Fully open source, checkpoints, inference, and training code. Oh, that's awesome. And 10x inference speedup. So let's take a look at this chart that they posted here for VBench quality results for VBench. They're getting 83% on total score versus 84 for Sora, and like beat Hunyuan video on some of them. This is awesome. I want to actually see are there results. I'd like
There are
Okay,
videos on
You
GitHub.
know what's very interesting? Sorry to interrupt. ThursdAI now lets you train your own LoRa's on this Hunyuan model. That's
Yep.
very interesting. They have that
Yeah.
as a service.
I want to see some videos for this.
Here's the
Open Sora
demos. You
too.
are right there. It's loading slowly. It's happening
Oh,
here.
here.
Yeah, it's coming here. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, it is loading slowly. But they presented a GIF format for
There.
convenience.
All right.
Why? Oh, they have gallery. Okay, let's go to gallery. I don't like GIFs. Open Sora demos. Okay, let's take a look. It's okay. Like you know, like we're jaded as hell now. 2 years ago when we started, nothing of this were like even in the realm of possibilities, and now we're like, oh yeah, it's okay. And this is like a quick video of a panda bear with distinct black patches. They have some, yeah, it's pretty awesome, folks. I am a little bit overwhelmed with like the video models, to be very honest with you. I'm like I keep, and this is my kind of job to help everybody who's listening in, and I cannot recommend now which is the best one. I think it's HY video for open source, and I'm pretty sure that's VO2. Also VO2. Yeah.
is the top one.
Okay, so if you, another thing that I wanted to show, finally VO2 now supports image to video, and supports it in AI Studio as well, folks. So I really wanted to show this. Let's go to AI Studio again. AI Studio now has this generate video button, okay, and then you can upload images. So this is the first kind of image to video in from VO2. And if I upload an image, let's go to screenshots and the same image that we just had all together, we will just be able to animate this. People slowly putting on party hats, and then confetti falls on top of the whole screen. So you can upload images, and you can basically say video generation in which aspect ratio. You can ask for 1 or 2. Let's do 1. And folks, I posted about something that blew my mind a while ago, and I wasn't able to talk about this. This is what I meant. I got early access to this via like a Google collab from Google, and this is absolutely blew my mind in how realistic they make the people's like animations move. So like making just people kind of play with this. Wolfram, I believe you played with this as well, right?
With this generate video, no, I didn't.
Oh, you played
even
with
know
the
that
image
yet.
generations.
Yeah, image
Yeah,
generation. That
image
was fun.
generation. Yeah, so we're gonna wait patiently until this happens, but I will say that like image to video means in VO2, they're absolutely the best video model as far as I'm concerned, like way better than Sora. But image to video means that you can now start chaining things together. You can take the last frame of the video you generated and kind of keep generating this and try a bunch of other stuff, and that's super cool. Okay, let's take a look, folks. Moment of truth. Let's take a look.
Wow.
That is super cool. That is super cool. For some
Yours
reason,
was really great.
yeah, mine is great. Niston's hat just appeared.
Dude,
Just
this
I
costs
didn't
like
get
boink.
one.
Yeah,
Well,
and
this
Wolfram,
costs like
you did not get one.
$2 or $4 to pay for it. I'm glad they've added it on AI Studio for free because it's
Yeah,
very expensive. Actually,
So The thing about AI Studio to remember, folks, and I think we're coming up to the end of the show. AI Studio trains on your stuff. It's free, but also I don't think you can like select of not training on your stuff, right? So if you upload videos on AI Studio, just remember you are the product to an extent. But you can go to FAL and generate this, and it costs a lot of money. Like it's $2.50 or something per generation. So it's not cheap at all. But this is by far the best video model. We also have some news super quick to cover from ByteDance. There was a Dream 2, which is like a native Chinese English image generation foundational model. So also like a multi-model, kind of like what we saw from Gemini. And Manus is the last thing that we wanted to try. Listen, so what was your research question? Could you share with me via chat? I want to show folks Manus and kind of the UI. Everybody's talking about Manus, like heads are blowing away, and folks are like, okay, Manus is like the next big thing. If you can share your chat, we'll look at Manus as the last thing we're gonna do here, because I got access thanks to Ray Fernando, and I will go and find Manus.
Okay, I pasted the exact same question that I dropped into deep research. Is that what you wanted? I just pasted it in here, so you can just copy paste that.
So this is Manus, folks. This is an AI research agent that does like all kinds of stuff, and it does it with a web browser, so kind of like operator. So unlike deep research that we just saw that uses the Google APIs, and this is more like an operator thing, and you can upload something like this. And let's take a look at how Manus works. Basically, Manus now starts his thinking process. So outlines. I actually don't know. I think it was leaked that they're using Claude 3.7 behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure that this is kind of the leak that they told us about.
That means it might be better than that's interesting. So what's the site again? manus.im.
Yeah, manus.im, manus.im, and then I think they have like a waitlist that you can sign up for, and for co-hosts of ThursdAI, I think I can get you in as well. And they're opening like an actual browser, like an actual Chrome browser behind the scenes, so very similar to like Operator. And I believe that you can also take control, which is super cool. They also have kind of the outline research already. So the question that we've asked was, how does GPRO work, and what are the latest advancements and alternatives to it, i.e. from Reka Labs or China? So we actually want to see if it gets us our Lu, right? That's kind of the purpose of the question, because they just came out with this. And then you can see kind of the to-do checklist that it generated for itself. It actually generated a file called todo.md, and it shows like a markdown file of GPRO fundamentals, latest advancements, and it has like checkboxes, and just like goes one by one and checks the checkboxes. So now it got to DeepSeek archive paper, so it's now reading the archive paper. This is pretty cool. They can create files, they can run code. I've seen it run code. I've seen it try the Twitter API and fail, because my agent task is, hey, help me with ThursdAI research, and I still don't have agents that can do this. But it's updating the plan as it goes along, so that's super cool. So you can see the plan, and it's getting updated. It's probably gonna take some time. So Manus like takes a second, and it generates like a bunch of files as well. At the end, it generates a document, which is awesome. So I will update you guys in the newsletter whether or not Manus successfully did the task that we gave it. But so far, the UI, I'm really loving the UI as well. Let's see. I think that this is it, folks. I think it's time to land this plane and finish the 2-year celebratory conversation that we've had for ThursdAI for the next an hour and 50 minutes. I think that's pretty much it. In the tools section, we've covered everything besides the last thing. Google AI Studio doesn't stop, so I'll just mention this. You guys now can drop YouTube links in Google AI Studio, and they will understand them natively as well. That's also super cool. You literally can just take a YouTube link, jump in Google AI Studio. They will not only do the transcription, I think they'll see the actual video. I think that's huge. So they'll actually use this for support. I encourage the folks who are listening to ThursdAI to take our live stream video after this and find the moment where we all have hats on our face and see if that works for you with the Gemini multimodal image YouTube understanding. With that, folks, I want to say a huge thanks to first of all, co-hosts Wolfram and Nistan and LDJ. It's been so awesome to do this with you guys from week to week, and we're gonna keep going because AI does not stop. I also want to say a huge thanks to the community that tunes in to listens. We had more than 1,500 viewers for this video, and also we have a bunch of folks on stage in on the space, and we have like a bunch of other folks who are listening and tuning in and reading in. So I really want to shout out everyone from the community that I absolutely love doing this every week and bringing the show to you and organizing for it in the middle of a bar yesterday when everybody from my company just like gets to know each other. There's an image of me. I'll send it to you guys with like just like headphones, AirPods, and just like working, trying to prepare the show. So again, shout out to Lincoln for incredible help organizing all of the threads and bringing the news to me. Yeah, I wanted to let you guys have a moment to also say a few words because you're co-host and I want to hear from you as well. Don't want to just end on myself as we are celebrating 2 years here.
I would like to thank you, Alex, because you have started the show. I haven't been there all the time. Nisten is from the first hour, but not me. I joined much later, and I love what you are doing, and I totally respect the dedication. I know after the show is over, you start editing it and all that, and even doing that, I probably couldn't do that. So much discipline. And always the best way for me to keep updated, because talking about it means I have to stay updated. So that is also motivation for me to stay up with everything. And so I have to thank you very much for having me and for doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Nissan, go ahead.
I went to search for some stuff online, and then the two sources I was getting was Tanish's Twitter thread, me arguing with him, and then the other source was ThursdAI on the show, stuff that we've already said. So yeah, thank you, Alex, for keeping it consistent, because we probably wouldn't have kept it that consistent, to be honest. And I think that's what that's what kept the show going.
100%. And I think the last thing that I already said thanks, but thank you to Weights and Biases for this huge support of the show every week. I basically get to deliver the show and kind of like mention also Weights and Biases as well. And yeah, I think that's it, folks. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for celebrating 2 years with us. Very exciting episode. And with that, like Wolfram said, after the show, I need to go and edit and actually send you the show as well. But I think the last episodes.
We forgot to thank all our loyal listeners. So we have everybody from Twitter there, Robert Scobble, and everyone that's always there.
Yep.
All the familiar
100%.
faces.
The community, the listeners, is the main reason this keeps going. I know that folks like this, and it's helpful for them, and this is why we're here every week, consistently, and delivering the show to you. So without you folks in the audience and listening to this would not have been either possible or also fun. Like it is fun to talk just the four of us, but like way more fun to learn together with other folks bringing things. So thank you everybody for tuning in to ThursdAI for March 13th, 2023. It's been so awesome. We did the TLDR in the beginning, so you can follow all of the news there. And if you missed any part of the show, as always, we're going to be live on every podcast platform very soon. We're live on YouTube, so the live recording that we just did, you can just like watch on our YouTube channel and give that channel a subscribe as well, so that way you get notifications when we're live. And the newsletter on ThursdAI.news. You can follow all of the links in the show notes on ThursdAI.news. If you missed anything, don't fret, because ThursdAI.news is there for you all the time. So I think with this, we'll end on the theme song. I think this is the best to end on the theme song. Happy anniversary. Thank you, folks, for celebrating with us. And let's basically end the stream on the theme song. And